This video is going to show you how to complete this square. Now, the only times you are ever going to want to complete this square is if you are asked to solve an equation and you cannot factor it. So clearly there are no multiples of 2 that add up to be 8, so it's impossible for us to factor this equation. So what we want to do is we want to get it into vertex form so that we can graph it easier. So completing the square takes a standard form equation and turns it into vertex form. Here are the steps of completing the square. You take x squared plus 8x and you separate it from the rest of the equation. Subtract 2 on the outside. Then you're going to find what we call a manipulation number. A manipulation number is a number that we're going to add onto the inside and subtract onto the outside to create a perfect square within this equation. So you need to remember the formula b divided by 2 squared. b is 8, divided by 2 is 4, and when we square it, we get a 16. So we know that 16 is our manipulation number, which means we are going to add a 16 right here, and we're going to subtract a 16 on the outside. The reason we add a number on the inside and subtract it on the outside is because we can't just change this equation to be whatever we want it to be, but we can manipulate it to be what we want it to be. So by adding a 16 and subtracting a 16, we've literally changed nothing to the equation. We've just manipulated it to look a little bit different. So now that we have a perfect square existing inside of our equation, we can factor it easily, because we know that a perfect square is x plus half of the middle term squared. Because when we FOIL out x plus 4, we get an x squared plus 8x plus 16. And then we just need to simplify this information on the outside. Negative 2 minus 16 is negative 18. So, completing the square, your final answer is x minus 4 squared and negative 18. Now, if you're asked to find the vertex of this equation, well, that's pretty easy, because you just look at your equation and you see that you're going to take the opposite of what number is on the inside of the parentheses and the actual number on the outside, and your vertex is negative 4 and negative 18. And that is all. If you'd like to see how to complete the square on a more complicated equation, please keep watching. Let's say you have the equation 2x squared plus 4x minus 7. Well, we still need to separate this out into 2x squared plus 4x, and then some parentheses, leave a little space, minus 7, because we need room for our manipulation number on the inside and the outside. Well, we can see that 2x squared plus 4x have something in common, and that is a 2. So we want to simplify this inside as much as we can before we go ahead and complete the square. So let's take out a 2 from each term. So 2x squared divided by 2 is leaving you with an x squared, and 4x divided by 2 leaves you with a positive 2x. So that way we've simplified our equation down a little bit more, so we're not dealing with such large numbers. Now we need to find our manipulation number. So in order to find our manipulation number, remember we do the opposite of b. We're going to do b divided by 2 squared. So b is 2, divided by 2 is 1, and 1 squared is 1. So we know that our manipulation number is just 1. So we're going to add a 1 on the inside, and we would naturally want to subtract a 1 on the outside. However, keep in mind that when we distribute this 2 back in, it's going to be multiplied by that plus 1, which is really going to turn it into a 2. So if I don't want to change this equation, I need to actually compensate for that plus 1 by subtracting a 2 on the outside, so that when everything is simplified, I haven't actually changed my equation at all. So now I can continue with completing the square. So I have my 2 on the outside, and I'm going to come up with an x plus a number squared, and then the rest of the equation. So I take x plus half of the middle term, which is 1. So if I were to FOIL out x plus 1 squared, I would end up with x squared plus 2x plus 1. And then I need to simplify the numbers on the outside, which is negative 7 plus negative 2, giving you a negative 9. So your vertex form, or your final completed square form, is 2 parentheses x plus 1 squared minus 9. So if you were asked to find your vertex, that would be opposite of the inside term, regular outside term, giving you a negative 1 and a negative 9.